And how many people know what CURE stands for? Raise your hand. Awesome. All the CURES people. Yeah, they know what it is. Okay, it's Center for Urban Research on Environmental Stressors. So our job is to understand the relationship between the environment and health. It's the vision of a couple folks, one of which is Dr. Arnetz, who's over here. Dr. Arnetz, please raise your hand. Yeah. Very good. Thank you very much. Let's have a hand for Dr. Arnetz. Phenomenal guy. Yeah. And so the whole point, we have many faculty at Wayne State University who are very interested in understanding the relationship between the environment and health. And, and hazards come in different varieties. There are biologic hazards, there are chemical hazards, there are physical hazards like noise and that type of thing, and there are social hazards also. So the whole idea is, how do we control those hazards? How do we improve your resilience so that as a community, we all do better, right? Does that make sense? Okay. So one of the things that we thought that we would start with is a discussion around nutrition. And we've identified several resources in the community. We have a lot of resources in our community that are very helpful. And so we thought we'd have a discussion around that, because within nutrition, you have both the ability to cut down on the things that you're exposed to and also eat in a way that it improves your resilience as well. Okay? So we have a couple people. First, I should mention, please make sure that you do fill out your evaluations. Also, if you yourself are a resource in the community that we need to know about, if you could contact Carrie and give her your contact information, then we will find you later and have some discussion about that. Okay? All right. Did I forget anything about the housekeeping stuff, or are we good? Yes. Okay, we're good. So we're going to start first with Ashley Atkinson. She's with Keep Growing Detroit, and she is the co-director. And she's going to talk a little bit about food and the environment and gardens and soil and all that kind of stuff, and provide a little myth busting. Now, how many people are familiar with the website TED? Okay, right, because oh God, she was actually on there. I mean, this is like famous. She's like famous. So, so without further ado, let's bring up Ashley Atkinson.
Hi, everybody. The really amazing story about my TED Talk is that I went on right after Richard Simmons. And Richard Simmons and I got ready in the green room together in the makeup chairs. And it was one heck of an experience. And I got out of the makeup chairs. If any of you know me, you know I never wear makeup. And I had so much makeup on my face, some of which Richard Simmons helped put on. And then I was pushed onto the stage of the Kennedy Center, and I didn't die. So, yes, please watch the TED Talk if you have a minute. But again, my name is Ashley Atkinson, and I am a co-director at a wonderful organization called Keep Growing Detroit. And our mission is to promote a food sovereign city where the majority of fruits and vegetables that Detroiters consume are grown within the city limits by Detroiters for Detroiters. And that actually, if you're not familiar with what that might look like, or if you're thinking, what could that look like, what it isn't is it is not replacing the city with a farm. We can actually use a very small amount of the vacant land that the city currently has to grow the vast majority of vegetables that Detroiters consume and the majority of fruits that Detroiters consume. It's actually very possible using a little bit of land and a whole lot of elbow grease. So that's the mission of our organization. And one of the key ways that we achieve that is through this program called the Garden Resource Program. Has anybody ever heard of the Garden Resource Program? Yay, Garden Resource Program members. So it's actually the best kept secret in Detroit. And if you're a resident of the city of Detroit and you have a family garden, a community garden, a school garden, or a market garden, which means that you're selling at the farmer's market, you can join the Garden Resource Program for $10 if you're a family garden, or $20 a year. and receive all of the seeds, all of the transplants, the majority of the compost, tomato stakes, trellis, pretty much all of the garden resources that you need to start a garden for almost nothing. A community garden pays $20 to get into the program and actually receives, on average, $1,750 worth of resources. So it is one of Detroit's best kept secrets. We don't really want it to be a secret because our mission, again, is to make sure that everybody who wants to be growing a garden in the city actually has the resources to do that. The best part of the program, I think, is the community interactions. A lot of people not only find that there's a ton of very fun social educational opportunities. We distribute over 80 varieties of fruits and vegetables. How many people in this room know how to grow more than 20 varieties of fruits and vegetables? It's pretty rare, but 80 varieties of fruits and vegetables can be really overwhelming. So we pair that with education. Last night we had a grilling summer vegetables workshop with the official grill king of Detroit. It was very fun. So we do from seed to table education, and then we do a lot of community events. So coming up in a couple of weeks, actually next week is our Summer Fest. It's at Clark Park on June 11th in the evening, and everyone's invited. We'll have barbecue, badminton, lawn games, a DJ, a lot of dancing. It's just a really, really fun time to celebrate food. And that's really what I think gardening is all about. So just to address a couple of things that relate to environmental quality and gardening. So the good news is that gardeners actually consume a lot more fruits and vegetables than non-gardeners. What we found when we looked is that the gardeners in our program were consuming 2.5 servings of fruits and vegetables more every single day than non-gardeners in the same zip code. So gardeners eat more fruits and vegetables. It makes sense, right? But we had to prove it to convince everybody. So gardeners do eat more fruits and vegetables than non-gardeners. They get a lot of physical activity too, so they're generally more healthy. But they're working in places, community gardens, school gardens, sometimes where there's real issues with soil contamination, or there's perceived issues with soil contamination. So one of the benefits of the Garden Resource Program is that we offer soil testing for everybody in our program. That's actually one of the benefits of joining. And one of the things we look for is kind of the key contaminants that are in urban soils, which is lead. And lead is left over from mostly paint from houses, but also it comes through other places like particulate matter in the air. And what we found is that in 15% of the cases, there is issues. The content of lead in the soil is over the direct contact standard, 400 parts per million. And then in 15% of the cases, there is some level of concern, and that's when we really kick in. We teach good gardening practices, things like make sure you wash everything that comes out of your garden. If you're in the garden and you have muddy shoes or dirty shoes, don't bring them into your house. It just kind of tends to cover everything in your house. Wash your hands, wear gloves, things like that. And then the good news, more good news, 70% of the soil tests that we've taken, and it's thousands of soil tests, come back lower than 200 parts per million, which is half of the direct contact standard, which is pretty good. So the vast majority of gardens in the soil, hopefully you test before you start gardening, but the vast majority of gardens in the city are safe to be gardening in. And if you are concerned at all, one of the key things that helps your body deal with contaminants that it might have, guess what it is? What? Exercise, being healthy for sure. But there's one really, really, really key way to make sure that your body has everything it needs to fight any exposure to contaminants in the environment. Green leafy vegetables. Yes, ding, 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 ding. Yes, so the more actual vegetables that you're consuming, the more you're able to fight off contaminants in the environment. And that goes across age. So the good news is that those gardeners who are having more exposure to the soil. They're in the soil, they're gardening. They're also eating a lot more fruits and vegetables, so that overall they're way more healthy, and they're way more able to deal with the contaminants in our environment that everyone is dealing with. I just kind of will close by saying the benefits of gardening don't stop there. As you know, there is, in some neighborhoods, real issues with access to fruits and vegetables for families. We don't have, full-service groceries all over the city. And in fact, only 1 in 5 grocery stores in the city of Detroit have a full range of, a full spectrum of fruits and vegetables and groceries to make a balanced meal with. So if you're like me, I also live in the city. I've lived here for 15 years. Sometimes you have to go to multiple stores, to fill your basket and to make sure you have everything. One of the things that Detroit gardeners are doing, and there are over 1,400 gardens in the Garden Resource Program, about 20,000 people engaged. One of the things that those people are doing, they're selling under the Grown in Detroit banner. Has anybody ever seen Grown in Detroit? It's right down there in Shed 2, right now on the corner. Grown in Detroit is a cooperative of about 100 growers across the city of Detroit. And it's a program that's run by Keep Growing Detroit, and we facilitate not only that space being available to all growers in the Garden Resource Program, but the communication in the community around pooling our vegetables together so that we have that big, beautiful stand for you as consumers every single Tuesday and Saturday at the farmers market. And if you choose to participate in Grown in Detroit, and again, anybody in the Garden Resource Program can be a seller in Grown in Detroit, guess what percentage of the profits you receive of the product that's sold that you bring to market? 100%. You bring carrots that are worth, $20, and all of those carrots sell, you get $20 in a week later. So it's an amazing program that really helps to facilitate more access to fruits and vegetables, but also supplemental income for all of those hardworking gardeners that our city really can't live without. So I'm going to pass it off to one of those hardworking gardeners, and we're going to take questions at the end. Jerry Ann.